The humid Houston evening pressed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my 47th floor office, the city's skyline a glittering testament to oil money and ambition. I sat behind my desk, the sleek glass surface reflecting the storm clouds gathering over the Texas plains. My phone buzzed, the banking app lighting up with a notification that stopped my breath. $1.2 million gone. The joint account I shared with my husband, Ethan Caldwell, had been drained to a paltry $18,392 in less than 24 hours. A moment later, a text from him glowed on the screen, 13 words that sliced through 6 years of marriage like a rusted blade. Need some time. Heading out with Lauren for a bit. Talk soon. I stared at the message, my fingers tightening around the phone. Ethan, my charming, ambitious husband, had emptied our account and run off with Lauren Pierce, a junior analyst from his department at Apex Energy. The irony wasn't lost on me. For years, I'd been Abby Harper to him, supportive wife, quiet companion, the woman who smiled through his condescending explanations of the energy markets I secretly dominated. But I was also Abigail J. Harper, CEO of Apex Energy, the very company that signed his paychecks. He'd never known. Never asked. And now he thought he'd left me with nothing. I leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking softly, and gazed out at the sprawling oil fields visible in the distance. Thunder rumbled, a low growl that matched the storm brewing inside me. 6 years ago, I'd met Ethan at an industry gala, his confidence drawing me in like a moth to a flame. He'd approached me with a grin, all sharp jawline and easy charm, and asked, "So what do you do?" I'd answered simply, "I work in energy." His eyes had flickered with assumptions. Admin, maybe Rand. I hadn't corrected him. It had been easier that way, a small experiment to see how long he'd cling to his preconceptions. Turns out forever. Now that experiment was over. He'd taken the bait I'd unknowingly set, revealing not just his infidelity but a deeper betrayal, a calculated theft he thought would cripple me. What he didn't realize was that the $1.2 million was pocket change, a modest sum I'd funneled into our joint account from my personal fortune to maintain the illusion of a middle-class life. My real wealth, the billions tied to Apex Energy, was untouchable, hidden behind layers of legal and financial fortifications he'd never bothered to question. The glass door to my office swung open, and in walked my CFO, Samantha Sam Grayson, her tablet glowing with data. Sam was a force sharp, unflappable, with a mind like a steel trap. She'd been my confidant since our Harvard Business School days, the only one at Apex who knew my husband worked 3 levels below me in a carefully insulated division. "He's still active in the system," she said without preamble, her voice clipped. "Used his corporate card an hour ago, 4 seasons, Kauai. 2 guests, oceanfront suite." I nodded, my outward calm belying the fury simmering beneath. "And the money?" "Jade's on it," Sam replied, referring to Jade Nakamura, my financial security expert. "Full withdrawal, $1,203,487. Transferred to his personal account, then wired offshore to a shell company set up 2 days ago. He's been planning this, Abby. Months, maybe longer." I turned to the window, watching lightning fork across the sky. "And Lauren?"
Some sleeps tightened.
Lauren Pierce, 27, junior analyst. Started 10 months ago. I signed off on her hire myself, didn't think twice. They've been careful but not careful enough. Hotel receipts, late-night dinners, a weekend in Austin under the guise of a conference. It's all there. The layers of betrayal unfolded like a bitter onion. Ethan's affair. His theft. His arrogance in thinking he'd outsmarted me. I'd built Apex from the ashes of my father's failing drilling outfit, turning it into the second-largest independent energy company in North America. At 28, I'd inherited a sinking ship. By 32, I'd made it an empire. Ethan, meanwhile, had coasted on charm and a knack for looking the part, never questioning why I kept my maiden name or how I always seemed to have insights he couldn't explain. "Does he know about tomorrow?" I asked, my voice steady. Sam shook her head. "The board meeting's on his calendar, but it's listed as a routine quarterly review. No names, just titles. He won't see it coming. Tomorrow, I plan to unveil Apex's acquisition of Triton Technologies, a deal Ethan had championed for months. He'd pushed the cutting-edge extraction tech as his ticket to a VP role, unaware that his reports went straight to me. I'd intended to announce his promotion in that meeting, finally revealing my identity in a moment of shared victory. Instead, he'd handed me the perfect stage for a different kind of revelation. "What do you want to do?" Sam asked, her tone softening. I stood, smoothing my tailored blazer, and met her gaze. "Lock him out. Corporate cards, email, building access, everything. Have security on standby at all locations. And prepare a new presentation for the board. We're scrapping Triton." Sam's eyes widened, but she nodded, already tapping notes into her tablet. "And Jade. Tell her to document every cent of that withdrawal. Every move he's made. Then call Marcus. She'll want to hear this in person." Marcus Vaughn, my silver-haired attorney, had structured my prenup and corporate safeguards with surgical precision. Ethan had signed that prenup without a second thought, believing it protected his assets. The irony was almost poetic. As Sam left, I turned back to the storm, now unleashing its fury on Houston. Lightning illuminated my reflection. CEO, energy mogul, betrayed wife. For 6 years, I'd let Ethan see only the shadow of who I was. Tomorrow, he'd face the full blaze of reality, and it would burn everything he thought he'd stolen away. The next morning, the Apex boardroom buzzed with anticipation. The long mahogany table gleamed under recessed lighting, flanked by 12 leather chairs occupied by board members and 2 Triton reps, Daniel Voss and Lauren Pierce herself. I entered last, my charcoal suit crisp, my expression unreadable. Sam sat near the head of the table, her tablet ready, while Cole Ramsey, my head of security, lingered near the door, a silent sentinel. "Good morning," I began, taking my place at the table's head. "Thank you for joining us early. We have critical business to address." My gaze flicked to Lauren, who shifted uncomfortably, her polished exterior faltering under my scrutiny. She didn't recognize Minute yet. The meeting proceeded with routine updates, revenue spikes, operational efficiencies, market forecasts. I guided the discussion with the authority I'd honed over a decade, my questions sharp, my insights piercing. Lauren's unease grew. She kept glancing at her phone, then at me, as if trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. When we reached the Triton agenda, I nodded to Daniel Voss. "Mr. Voss, please present your proposal." He stood, exuding the confidence of a man who thought the deal was sealed. Triton's extraction technology is revolutionary: 38% yield increase, 20% emissions reduction. Field tests confirm its viability, and we're poised to transform Apex's operations. His pitch was slick, rehearsed, but I caught the subtle glances he exchanged with Lauren. Not affection strategy. When he finished, I smiled thinly. "Impressive. But I have questions." What followed was a surgical dismantling. I projected documents onto the room screens: patent filings Triton had buried, test data inflated by creative accounting, financial projections that crumbled under scrutiny. "These patents," I said, circling a highlighted section, "overlap with existing claims by 4 competitors. The legal exposure alone could cost billions. And your field tests? Our independent analysis shows a 12% yield increase, not 38%. Care to explain?" Voss paled, stammering. "Our team assured us." "Your team, Mr. hid these issues," I cut in. "And then there's the matter of influence on our assessment process." The final slide appeared. Bank records of a $75,000 transfer from a Triton subsidiary to an offshore account, followed by Ethan's signature on a falsified report. This isn't just sloppy due diligence. It's fraud. The board tensed. Lauren's eyes widened, her phone slipping from her hand onto the table. Voss opened his mouth to protest, but I pressed on. "We have evidence of private meetings, financial incentives, and personal relationships designed to skew Apex's evaluation. This ends now." I turned to the board. "I recommend rejecting Triton's acquisition and referring this to legal for investigation." All in favor. The vote was unanimous, a chorus of ayes sealing Triton's fate. As security escorted Voss and Lauren out, she glanced back, her gaze locking onto my wedding ring, then my face. "Caldwell," she mouthed, the realization hitting like a thunderclap. I gave her no anger. No triumph, just the cool detachment of a CEO closing a failed deal. Back in my office, Sam joined me, her expression a mix of relief and curiosity. Phase 1 done. What's next? I checked my watch. We wait for Ethan to notice. Ethan's world unraveled faster than he could have imagined. By noon, Cole reported his corporate cards were declined at the Kauai resort. His email access was restricted, his building credentials flagged. He'd called Voss repeatedly, but the Triton CEO, fresh off his own disaster, wasn't answering. Then came the voicemails. Abby babe, something's wrong with our accounts. Call me back. His tone was casual, a poor mask for rising panic. 10 minutes later. Abby, seriously, the cards aren't working, and I can't log into my email. What's happening? The third. Abby, please, this is insane. The money's gone, my accounts are locked, and HR just emailed about my login. Call me. When the fourth call came, I answered. Hello, Ethan. Abby, thank God, he gasped. Everything's messed up, the accounts, my cards, my job. What's going on? How's Kauai? I asked, my voice ice cold. Lauren enjoying that ring you bought her? Dead silence. Then. What are you talking about? The engagement ring. The one you got last month with funds from a side account. The suite you're sharing, paid for with $1.2 million you stole from me. Abby, I can explain. No need, I interrupted. Save it for Apex's legal team. They'll be in touch about your termination and the criminal investigation into your Triton dealings. Criminal? I didn't do anything illegal. The $75,000 bribe says otherwise. So does your doctored report. How do you even know this? His voice cracked, desperation bleeding through. Lauren's already left Kauai, I continued, ignoring his question. Checked out an hour ago after the board meeting. The one where I rejected Triton's acquisition and exposed your fraud. What board meeting? He whispered. The Apex Quarterly Review. Where Abigail J. Harper, your CEO, and your wife presented the evidence. You stole from me, Ethan, thinking I was just your quiet little spouse. You had no idea who you were robbing. The silence stretched, heavy with his dawning horror. No. That's impossible. It's not, I said simply. And it's over. The fallout was swift and merciless. By evening, Ethan's termination packet arrived at his hotel, delivered by a stoic security officer. It detailed his severance generous, considering his actions, and a non-disclosure agreement barring him from discussing Apex or our marriage. His personal accounts were frozen, the prenup's punitive clauses stripping him of all marital assets. He tried transferring the $1.2 million back, but Jade had blocked every avenue. Marcus met me for dinner at the ranch that night, my father's old retreat where I'd retreated after the boardroom showdown. Over steak and bourbon, he laid out the legal roadmap. Divorce is filed. Judge Patel's expediting an emergency hearing tomorrow. Ethan's hired counsel from Titan Energy, hoping to flip this into a leverage play. He won't succeed. He thinks he can trade Apex secrets, I mused, sipping my drink. He's got nothing valuable, Marcus assured me. Your insulation was airtight. The next day I faced Ethan in court. He sat across the room, flanked by Titan attorneys, his suit pristine but his eyes hollow. His lead counsel argued fraudulent inducement, claiming I'd tricked him into the prenup by hiding my identity. Marcus countered with devastating precision. Ethan's text to Lauren, gleefully plotting the theft, the bribe records, his own signature on every damning document. Judge Patel ruled in my favor, enforcing the prenup and issuing a restraining order. Ethan left with nothing but the clothes on his back and a shattered career. 6 months later I stood on the ranch deck, the Texas sky ablaze with sunset hues. Apex had soared, new tech acquisitions, a 10% market share jump, headlines praising my leadership. Personally, I'd shed the last vestiges of Abby Caldwell, embracing Abigail J. Harper fully. Friends returned, new relationships blossomed, and the exhaustion of living divided faded into memory. Ethan resurfaced in Nevada, working for a solar startup, a humbled shadow of the man he'd been. Lauren vanished into obscurity, her ambitions undone by her choices. Triton collapsed, its assets scattered among competitors. As the stars emerged, I raised a glass to the horizon. Ethan had tried to take everything, never suspecting he'd freed me instead. The woman he'd underestimated had rebuilt herself stronger, undivided, and unapologetically whole.
If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.